We are not here to bash the R5, but we did return it for a full refund. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. It's Sal and Bart here from Trio Stories. We're so happy to have you.
To have your attention.
Yes.
Yeah. So following on from our previous video, we're going to give you a really honest look, things to consider before you pull the trigger and purchase an R5 yourself.
Correct.
So unfortunately, the R5 just wasn't for us. Now that's not to say that it might not be for you. It might be.
We're gonna preface this video with, if you are a photographer, this is not for you. As in this video, not the camera.
Yeah, that's right.
If you are a photographer and you're buying the R5, you are gonna be so happy with it. It is a beast. No complaints.
Honestly, I found it a huge upgrade from the 5D Mark IV, but I would say there is one little complaint, and that's the price point. I think you're going to be paying through the roof for video features which are bumping up that spec. That's just extra cash out of your pocket.
Worth it though. We're not going to shy away from it. We're not going to tread lightly so as not to upset Canon shooters. We have been Canon fanboys since day one.
That's like over 10 years for me now.
We are super devastated that we've had to return this camera. You're getting a really good deal this video because I'm somewhat on the fence still about the R5, whereas Bart is like furious.
Pretty furious right now.
Let's go.
The first thing to know when you buy this camera is that the unboxing experience itself is going to be different.
Because it's not a flawless camera by any means, you are looking to test whether
it works.
It works for you, which is completely different to the experience that we had when we were buying the 5D Mark IV and the 1DX and all of our lenses. When you unbox those things,
it was like sheer awe. It was just
whereas you don't get that experience with the R5, you're waiting to see what problems it will give you.
Will anything go wrong?
You just want to love your gear and it inspire you to create, not be walking on eggshells around it. So that was a real shame.
And you did see how excited we were when the boxes arrived.
The second thing is that if you are buying into the R5 as a new system, do not sell your old gear before you fully tested it. Within a few days of owning the R5, we were absolutely buzzing about this camera.
Filth.
So we immediately sold up our 1740, which is why today you've got a tighter crop with a 35mm because we don't own now a wider lens than the 35.
Creative choice.
So yes, don't sell up your old gear before you know that you want to keep the R5.
The next thing is firmware updates. With a really new camera like the R5, there is loads of small firmware updates straight after its release. So yeah, when you receive the R5, remember about the firmware. It may not be 100% right straight out of the box. So when we received ours, we made sure that it was the firmware 1.1.1. But as it turned out, our 1535 had some older firmware on and we had to, for the first time ever, update our lens.
But coincidentally, more problems from the R5. The firmware update for the 1535 RF actually made the IBIS way worse.
Yeah, the IBIS wobble was way more kind of consistent and jelly-like, I would say.
Yeah, if you want to see more of that footage, you can check out our last video. There's a lot of test footage there. We're still not 100% sure whether our body, our lens, whatever, was faulty in some way. Canon did kind of look at our footage and said that it wasn't.
But yeah, it was, I'd say they kind of said that it was inconclusive.
Yeah, we don't know.
No good.
Yeah, number 3, memory cards. This is a painful one. With all of these new banging video features that we are so hyped about, it only means one thing. Expensive memory cards.
More data.
For full functionality in the R5, you're going to need the CF Express cards.
Type B.
Which are hella expensive.
Yeah, I think we paid over £200 for ours, which is like $300.
Which we can't return. Anybody want a memory card?
We did actually know about the cards and the requirements of the data transfers, but it doesn't make it any less painful when you've just dropped over £5,000 and then you have to go shopping for these cards, which are actually quite rare still at this point. The 4K HQ,
4K 120,
the 4K 120 all Intra,
8K,
and the 8K RAW are all best used with a CF Express Type B. You might get away with like a super fast SDXC V90 for some of the modes, I think, but the safest bet is to get the CF Express. So yeah, it's going to set you back a few pennies.
An expensive system.
An expensive hobby altogether. Why weren't we into like stamp collecting?
This next one is a bit of a small little pointer. This system is heavy. If you're looking to go into a mirrorless system for a lightweight experience, this isn't it.
No.
The R5 plus the 1535 was actually heavier than the 5D Mark IV with a 35 prime.
Obviously, there are the sort of non-L equivalents or possibilities, such as like the 85mm f1.8 or the 50. But it's just something that kind of we noticed straight away. We were expecting to go to mirrorless after the 1DX Mark II being the beast that it is. And to be honest, there was really not that much difference. The RF glass is beastly.
It's a really small point and doesn't influence our decision in any way, but it's just something to think about. I was quite excited about a lightweight thing, and it's not.
The next big thing is a big positive, actually, and that's the eye autofocus. The eye and the tracking, both.
Banging. It's banging.
It's banging. I was actually really, really surprised by how well it works, how fast it is, how responsive it is. Both in photo and video, very, very useful. Bob-on feature.
When you don't have to think about the focusing and you can just focus on everything else, that's just deadly.
I've got to say, for photography, this is an incredible camera. It's a huge step up from the 5D Mark IV, which I didn't know was possible. That is a top photography body. Well, the R5 is a big step up.
So for hybrid shooters?
Yeah, the photography, there's a lot of gains to be made.
What about video though, fam?
Absolute.
More issues coming your way.
If you're getting the R5, I sincerely hope you have the patience of an angel.
Oh my god, this camera is going to kill me. The reason we bought this camera was for the IBIS. The IBIS was the reason we bought it, and the IBIS was the reason we returned it.
It was a nightmare.
Again, we're not 100% sure if ours was broken. We have no idea what to exactly tell you here with the IBIS, except for the fact that it was janky.
The motion was not smooth. It was like very kind of digital, jittery. It kept having this weird rotational kind of movement, which appeared very fast, even in 120 FPS.
It was also extremely consistent across a number of like different tests. We tested it at 15mm, we tested it at 35mm on EF lenses, different frame rates, with and without the digitally enhanced stabilization modes.
Yeah.
So it was just very weird across everything. It wasn't just the 15mm IBIS wobble.
It was consistently bad and problematic, and it was two separate issues that we kind of identified. The IBIS wobble and then the kind of jittery motion, which was a separate issue and persisted even at times at like 70mm on 7200 IS. But
also the IBIS wobble wasn't limited to the wider end of the 1535. It was also present in 35mm, which is just not what we've been seeing everyone talking about on the internet with the firmware update.
Because that 1.1 firmware has fixed everything, right?
Everyone has been praising it. Oh, no more wobble. That's not the experience we've had. So something to think about. There may be different issues from body to body.
We actually found this really useful video titled, quite appropriately, Wobblegate, which talked about the kind of a theory that Canon has some quality control issues, and there is a lot of differences body to body in the R5, and people are actually getting different levels of performance from their R5s. Sounds very possible, because when we watched his R5's performance, it was a completely different level to what we were getting. We're none the wiser.
If you can't trust that you're going to get a good camera,
switch to Sony.
The next thing is the overheating. It is a problem.
We watched some videos and we kind of thought...
we thought it had been fixed.
Yeah,
everyone was like, this 1.1.1 firmware has fixed everything. Oh, it's only going to happen in 4K 120 when you've been filming for half an hour. It's only going to happen in 8K. It's only going to happen in 4K HQ. So we were absolutely fine with that. But actually, we were really shafted by the overheating.
We were shooting in 4K 120, a little bit of slow-mo B-roll, and it overheated very early on.
About 10 minutes in.
Yeah, again, 10 minutes, not continuous bursts.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, we'll go down to 4K 60 because we did want to be able to slow this footage down. We were working with a doggo, if I believe.
Yeah, doggo.
Yeah. And overheated again. We had to actually have a break. And I mean, that's not good enough when you're doing a client shoot, so not impressed.
In terms of editing the R5 footage, RIP smooth playback. I don't know what this will be like for Premiere Pro, but in Final Cut Pro, you 100% will need to create proxies. Even at 4K 24 IPB, playback was not enjoyable. I imagine it's what Premiere Pro users have had to deal with since the dawn of time. But once you transcode to proxies, it's absolutely fine.
So as long as you've got the patience to do that and a bit of spare time, then you're all right. It'll be better in the future, I'm sure, but it's something to keep in mind for now. It will slow down your editing process quite significantly.
So these last 2 weeks, testing and using the R5 have been really painful. Despite all of its problems and annoying issues, it is a beautiful piece of equipment. It has insane image quality that we just have never had the pleasure of using before. The dynamic range is crazy, the log, the raw, the 4K, 120, the 8K. It's all absolutely magical and feels like you're using a cinema camera. The quality is unreal.
The R5 was also intended as our main workhorse body. We were planning to sell the 1DX and the 5D Mark IV, commit fully to the RF line, and we just couldn't trust the R5.
But if you need to trust in this camera as a hybrid shooter or just for video, I think there are better cameras out there.
The verdict is it's a no from me.
So is it time for us to switch?
I think it is. And on that terrible disappointment for Canon fanboys,
despite your camera brand allegiances, this is a very exciting time to be a creator, and these cameras are just tools for us to use
and enjoy.
Do with that what you will. Thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure to have you. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you liked our look at the R5. We've tried to be as balanced and neutral as possible. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions at all. We'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, like and subscribe if you would like to see our faces in the future.
And we look forward to seeing you again soon and speaking to you. Bye bye.
The 35mm though is so far away, you can't even like put your hand over it.
No. No one will be watching this now, so.
Hi Mum and Dad. Miss you.
Love you, Mum. We'll see you in the next
Bye.
video. Bye.